So when you think about the tram, Lam Rim, Changchup Lam Rim, the path to enlightenment, the path to Buddhahood. Even when you think about the name of the books, really you can feel, oh, I'm so lucky to have this book to study and practice. This Lam Rim book is very systematic, is very clear how we can achieve Buddhahood. So before we start actual class, in order to be calm physically, mentally, we do the short breathing meditations. So today we do bit differently. Usually I ask you to breathe in and out, like 12 times. Today we do only, I think, from the two nostril, few times from the right side and few times from the left side. Here today we do little bit different, based on feeling the airs going from your nose and middle of the nose and the throat all the way to lungs. So when you breathe out, when you exhale, also you feel the air, the breath is coming from your lungs and throat and nose. So you need to feel the movement of the breath, the sensation of the breath. So when you breathe in, mostly you feel the air is more cool, the cooling air. When you exhale, you will feel, the air, the oxygen is very warm or is very hot. So please, mindful about your breath and try to feel the sensation. First, from the right side. You just blow one left side. Now you use the left nostril and breathe in and out with the feeling of sensation. Next, please breathe through both nostrils few times. The most importantly, you need to feel the air going in and out. If you cannot feel the air, the breath, then you need to breathe in and out a bit strongly. Then you can feel the sensation. Thank you. And also you can apply the 3 mantra, Om, Hum. We call, recite the Vajra mantra. Om, Hum. When you breathe in, you just imagine the sound of the breathing in, it looks like turned as a Om. After you breathe in, you hold the breath for short time. Then also, while stopping, hold the breath, the sound is look like ah. So then when you breathe out, then the sound is look like hum. That means om, ah, hum, om, ah, hum. This is very important practice if you are able to do, before you, fall asleep. So then you can sleep continuously. So breathe in and out. The breath transforms as a Om Ahum. Okay, so thank you so much for attending the online class. So today, I think how many people we have? 61. Then, so this is a Lamrim class, particularly class about Mahayana, the Yan, the path to enlightenment, path to complete Buddhahood. And everybody, we are very simple, ordinary person. But the study we have been study, which is the Lamrim, is very, very important teaching. And the practice, we have been practicing for many years, which is bodhicitta. This is one of the most important practice in Buddhism, particularly Mahayana tradition. Therefore, every day you need to realize I'm very ordinary person, but I'm one of the lucky person, and also one of the most opportunity person to able to study Buddhism, particularly the Lamrim. Also, I am very lucky person to able to study bodhicitta, to able to practice bodhicitta. In order to study bodhicitta, in order to practice bodhicitta, you need a lot of merits. You need a lot of positive actions. So in our previous life, definitely everybody we accumulated great amount of positive actions. Therefore, we born as a human. We are not just human. We have very complete, the sensation, complete organs. And physically, we are very healthy. Also, we can see things very well. We can hear very well. Also, we can study very well. Therefore, always you must realize I'm very lucky to be born in human life, to have the opportunity to study, practice with a healthy body, healthy mind. So we can be mentally very healthy. We can have a always healthy mind until we died, until we leave this world. But we cannot have the healthy body until we death. Therefore, the Lamrim, all the Buddha teaching, teach us, introduce us how to have healthy mind, how to have only positive thoughts. Therefore, many of you, most of you, maybe except 2 or 3, I think all of you are very busy. You have to do so many things, even though today is Saturday, but still, you try to have a manage. You manage to have a time to study, practice Dharma and Lamrim. Most importantly here, we not just attend the class, not just only study about Dharma. Most important, it is so important, most important to practice. If we practice Dharma every day, very, sincerely, seriously for 1 year, practice renunciation. Try to understand the truth nature of samsara. Truth nature of our physical body. Also, for 1 year, if you seriously, sincerely, continuously try to understand what are the origins of suffering, definitely everybody will know, the origin of sufferings. Then, third, we wish to achieve liberation, wish to achieve Buddhahood. We need very strong aspiration, strong desire to attain liberation and Buddhahood. When you have a strong desire or aspiration to achieve Buddhahood or liberation, then you seriously think how I can achieve liberation, how I can achieve Buddhahood, how I can be freed from suffering, how I can be, how I can free from suffering and origin of sufferings. When you have these two thoughts, sincerely, wish to achieve liberation for yourself, wish to achieve Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings, then definitely you become very, serious about study Dharma and practice Dharma, study Lamrim and practice Lamrim. If you are not serious about achievement, the achieving Buddhahood and liberation, then your practice never be serious. If your practice not that serious, not that sincere, the study Lamrim, study Dharma also become, no serious. Therefore, everybody have been attending Lamrim class. Please make sure you practice every day seriously. That means, please, try to stop. Please try to stop not having any negative thoughts. Attachment, anger, jealousy, pride. If you're able to stop them based on using the antidotes, then you are serious and genuine practitioner. Otherwise, studying Dharma, practice Dharma, you cannot achieve anything. Therefore, at the beginning, I really, urge all of you to study. Whatever you study, you must apply into your day-to-day life, every day, every moment. Therefore, right now we are studying Lamrim. First, today we will discuss and do meditation, discuss and meditation. At the beginning, everybody contemplate the samsara. If you think yourself for the 24 hours, you have sufferings physically, mentally, or physically you think you are quite healthy, but mentally always you have emotional sufferings. Not only you, all sentient beings, the beings who are in samsara, everybody has a sufferings and problems. Please contemplate the truth, the pure, reality, the reality of samsara. Whether you are rich, poor, very rich, very poor, still everybody has a sufferings and problem. So here you just ask a question. You ask question yourself. The question is whether can I free from suffering or not? We can see suffering, we can feel suffering. Can I free from suffering or not? Is the question. Then the answer, yes. You can be free from suffering. All sentient beings can be free from sufferings because doesn't matter which sufferings, all sufferings has a cause and condition. If you're able to control the causes and condition to arise suffering, to have suffering, then you can stop to have suffering and having suffering. Second, everybody think what are the causes and condition of sufferings. Yes, the karma, the negative karma cause to arise suffering. The positive karma arise happiness, but the happiness, we name happiness, still is a sufferings. Therefore, whether positive or negative karma, which is we have, still arise sufferings. We name happiness, but actually, this is also one type of sufferings. Therefore, karma cause to arise sufferings. Then, how we, why we have all this karma, how the karma we accumulate it, because of the motivation. Due to attachment, desire, anger, pride, jealousy, harmful thoughts, all the negative thoughts to accumulate negative karma. For example, first you have a thought. or you have a motivation to harm someone. This is just thought. You're not really physically harming to someone. You have a thoughts. Due to the thoughts, due to that motivation, you engage into the action. The action, always the negative actions because of the motivation. Therefore, the positive or negative karma, both karmas, motivated by the, like the thoughts, the positive or negative thoughts. Then why we have the negative thoughts? The negative thoughts we always have a lot of negative thoughts because we don't realize the real or truth nature of all phenomena, truth nature of our body, our mind, our speech. How we don't understand the real nature of our body, mind, and speech, why, and how we really don't know the truth nature of the phenomena. First, you think yourself. We never ever realize we are changing momentarily. We are changing moment by moment, second by second. It's changing. But it's the reality, it's the fact. But we don't realize. We think we are kind of permanent. We think the person who are right now, right like me, right now I'm sitting on the chair, I'm speaking to you, and the Yunten who were having lunch 2 hours before. For me, I thought it's same. The Geshe who are having lunch, the Geshe who are talking to you, I thought is the same. It's totally different. Also, we don't realize things are impermanent, changing momentarily. So therefore, we have an ignorance about impermanent. Also, for us, we have a concept, beauty and ugly, the beautiful and ugliness. Also, we have a concept, something such a thing is so clean, so pure, something such a thing is very impure. But still we say something, actually we don't realize. Think about your physical body. Think about the physical body which you always attach. When you wear clothes, when someone wears clothes, come around you, come around me, I thought the person is so beautiful, the person is so nice. We don't realize the real nature of the person. We don't realize the real nature of the person's body. Therefore, why we have all the negative thoughts? Because we don't really understand the truth nature of all phenomena. For example, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent, changing momentarily, minute by minute. We don't realize. We have a so strong attachment to our belongings. We have a so strong attachment towards our own body, our relatives, because we don't understand the real nature of the person body or the phenomena. So when you fully understood the real nature of the body, all your belongings, then immediately all the attachment towards someone or something going to be reduced. No more attachment. For example, before someone died, we have a very strong attachment. We hold the body, or we kiss the person, we kiss the cheek and the lip. Right after person pass away, no more attachment to the body, because we realize this is dead body. Therefore, the negative thoughts, karmas, cause to arise sufferings and problems. Particularly, not realizing impermanent death. Many people has emotional problems. Right now, all of you physically very healthy, which is very good. We always wish to have a healthy body. Suddenly, the doctor tell you, oh, you got serious cancer problem. Immediately, we feel very strong disappointment. We cry, we get angry ourselves because we don't try to understand death, impermanence. Therefore, every day, you must remember things are impermanent. I am impermanent. My belongings impermanent. My relatives impermanent. My husband is impermanent. My child or children are impermanent. We live together for a while, then we separate. This is the truth nature of samsara. Then why we have all these negative thoughts? Because we have an ignorance. We don't know the truth of all phenomena. So when you do meditation, first you reflect or you contemplate the truth nature of suffering. Then origin of suffering include ignorance. Therefore, you should think, yes, I can be free from sufferings because all suffering I have, all suffering which all sentient beings have, those arise from causes and condition. If I am able to control the causes and condition to arise suffering, then you won't have any more suffering. Next, we think about what kind of happiness you wish to achieve. There's a three kinds of happiness: the samsaric happiness, the liberation happiness, and Buddhahood happiness. Right now, everybody enjoying the samsaric happiness. We live in the luxury life, but you think, I don't have enough. When I look at all of you, whom I know very well, for me, you have a luxury life. When you get up, you can take a hot shower. You can drink juice, whichever you want. You can drink tea, coffee. You can have a nice breakfast. You always have a very comfortable bed and blanket and pillow, clothes, shoes, slipper. When you go out, there's a bus with the AC, there's a taxi car with the AC. When you go in a restaurant, you can choose 20, 30, 40 types of food you can eat. Therefore, everybody, we don't realize we are lucky. Yes, all of you very lucky to have the luxury life. That means you are enjoying the samsaric happiness. Still, we are not fully satisfied. We are not really happy with the samsaric enjoyment, samsaric happiness. Then why you are very serious about accumulating the positive karma? I'm not talking about merit, the positive karmas. All the positive karma can give you, the happiness which is you have right now. Therefore, we should not be too serious about, just accumulating the positive karma, positive action. This is, samsaric happiness everybody, have. Then the third, level of second is happiness is, the happiness which is you can have after you fully free from samsara. The liberation happiness, liberated happiness. So also, can we achieve liberation or not? Can I be fully liberated being or not? My answer is yes. Any sentient being can achieve, liberation. Any sentient being can be free from suffering and cause of sufferings. So what kind of practice I must do? Again, based on realize the truth nature of samsara and the cause of samsara, then you really need to cultivate renunciation, detachment with the samsaric things, no attachment with the samsaric things. It doesn't mean you should not care about your health, about your food, about your job, about your money, car. You must take care, you must need, but should not hold too strongly, this is my, this is my, this is my. So you can have everything without attachment. Just enjoy the things which you have. Just enjoy your friend, with your relatives. Enjoy with your life, should not attach. Once you have attachment, so difficult to let it go. Therefore, the people who are in, bed, almost ready to die, it's almost ready to leave this world. But we know the person is leaving very soon, within few hours, the person is leaving this world. But the person himself, herself, they are not ready to live. Still they are making plan, after I recover, I do this business, that business, I want to do this and that. You are making a lot of plan. Because attachment. Also, if you realize, you are seriously ill, it cannot be cured, then you are crying every day, every hour, you are crying. Someone come to see you, you cry. When you think about your relatives, you feel cry. When you think about your belongings, you feel cry. Because your mind is so strongly attached to your belonging, because attachment is no good. Therefore, in order to, let them go, everything, let it go, you need to cultivate renunciation. Definite renunciation means definitely overcome. I need to overcome from suffering and the cause of sufferings. Then, like a impermanence, selfless emptiness, then continuously practice renunciation with the emptiness, then ignorance going to reduce, at the end, ignorance going to eliminate. Then you are free from cause of the suffering because you fully, completely eliminated ignorance. Also, you're not going to accumulate any more negative karma. Therefore, you fully cut the root of the samsara, which is ignorance, three-poison mind, and karma. Then you no need to take a rebirth in samsara. You fully liberate it. Still, you are not fully achieve your own benefits. You are free from the samsara. You're not going to take any more rebirth in samsara, but all your mother sentient beings still in the samsara. For example, all your family, include you, are having COVID-19 problem. All your family affected by COVID-19, include you. So due to your medication, due to your exercise, due to your food, you're free from COVID-19. Then you just go around the botanic garden, go around the park, you're enjoying like tea, coffee, food, you just enjoy yourself. Do you think this is a good, you are a good person? No, because your whole family still affected by COVID-19. After you fully free from COVID-19, you should not be just enjoy, also you must take care of your family. If you totally ignore your family, generally we consider you are not good person. Same way, after you fully achieve enlightenment, after you achieve the liberation, if you totally just remain in the blissful state for many eons, you don't care about your mother sentient beings is no good. Therefore, achieving liberation is not enough for you. Somehow you need to achieve Buddhahood, the complete, enlightened state. How? Bodhicitta. Clear? Bodhicitta. Without bodhicitta, you should not think, I really practice the Mahayana. No. Bodhicitta is look like, pillar of the house. Bodhicitta is heart. Look like heart of your body. If your heart is very weak, the lungs, kidney, doesn't matter they are healthy or not, still cannot function anymore. When your heart stop, everything going to stop. So bodhicitta is look like heart in the Mahayana. It is look like heart or the practice of the Bodhisattva, bodhicitta. Therefore, we have been studying about bodhicitta, how we can cultivate. Then 7 cause and effect, or through exchanging 7 other. Now you just imagine through your practices, you're able to accomplish bodhicitta, not able to cultivate, accomplish, right? Yes, every day you can generate bodhicitta. It doesn't mean you have the bodhicitta. You really need to accomplish the bodhicitta within this lifetime. This lifetime, within few years, or within few months, you really need to accomplish bodhicitta. You really wish, you try to be bodhisattva. When you have bodhicitta, you are already bodhisattva. Doesn't matter whether you are male and female. You are already become bodhisattva when you have bodhicitta. So, so we have been studying Lamrim, particularly we have been studying about bodhicitta, not just, having knowledge about bodhicitta. Really try to have bodhicitta in the real sense. So, just imagine you have a bodhicitta, then now you need to make a commitment or you need to make a vows, right? First you generate the bodhicitta, then you make a commitment in front of the Guru, in front of the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, say, I have bodhicitta, this bodhicitta I will maintain. I will practice the bodhicitta until I become a Buddha. Therefore, in order to have a commitment or this kind of promise, you need to take Bodhisattva vows. So last time we learned, how we should take Bodhisattva vows. First, you really need to take a refuge. The Mahayana, based on the Mahayana teaching. After you've, taken refuge into, Mahayana, Buddha, Mahayana Dharma and Sangha, then you need to do two practices, purification, humiliating. These two practices, it can be done based on practice of 7 limb prayers. So then, third step, then you need to request to the Guru or you request to the field of merit. If the Guru is there, you can request to the Guru to give a Bodhisattva vows. If there's no Guru, if you're alone in somewhere in your house, then you fully visualize in Buddha Shakyamuni with the Manjushri and Maitreya Buddha. Then you do 3-time prostration and request them to give a Bodhisattva vows. Then you have to recite the verses for 3 times. Imagine, you are reciting after the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. At the end, you need to think, yes, I have the Bodhisattva vows. Then the Bodhisattva vows, the bodhicitta, you need to maintain continuously this life, after this life, until the Buddhahood. But we don't know how long it will take. How long? 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, 100 eons, millions eons. How long? If I ask you how long you will take to achieve Buddhahood, you will say, I don't know. If somebody asks me how long you will take to achieve Buddhahood, my answer is very simple. I'm not going to say it's up to Buddha. I'm not going to say it's up to all sentient beings. It's up to my practice. Up to my practice. If I seriously practice bodhicitta with the emptiness, the wisdom with the bodhicitta, seriously, for 24 hours, then maybe, you or me can be Buddha within 1 lifetime. So how long you will take is up to your practice. And also here, you should not think, any of you should not think, I cannot. Oh, I'm very ordinary being. Or I'm female. Or I'm male. I'm mother. I'm husband. I'm busy. You should not think this way. You should think, yes, I can be Buddha within this lifetime. If I practice bodhicitta with the wisdom, which is the emptiness, The wisdom which realizes emptiness with the bodhicitta, you can be Buddha within one lifetime. Then, so what things we are lacking here? I remind you always, you have more than enough guru. I don't think you need any new guru. Clear? Also, you are not lacking guru. Also, you are not lacking the teaching about how to practice bodhicitta, how to realize emptiness, how to practice renunciation. No. You have enough knowledge how to practice renunciation, how to take refuge into Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, how to practice bodhicitta. You have enough knowledge. We are lacking about practicing. We don't practice. We practice maybe 20 minutes every day. Even though I don't think you remember practicing Dharma for one day, I don't think you remember. Therefore, we are not lacking guru, we are not lacking teachings, we are lacking practice, meditation. Therefore, if your achievement, becoming Buddha is very serious, your practice became very serious. If your practice become very serious, your study become very serious. Therefore, you need to maintain the bodhicitta continuously, until Buddhahood. Therefore, next, I ask you to study, the course, not beginning this life and next life. Also, I ask you the 4 white practices and 4 black kind of practice for black 4 black things, right? Okay. Are you clear? So the steps. Now let's say you already have bodhicitta. Also now you are worried, I wish to practice the bodhicitta continuously until I'm died. Not after that. I wish to practice bodhicitta after next life, until Buddhahood. How you can do this? Therefore, here look at the beginning, page number 69. 69. Maintaining and not weakening that you have attained, which is bodhicitta. It has no page number, just go page number 70. The training in the precept that cause you not to weaken your bodhicitta in this lifetime. Number 2, the training in the precept. Precept, you should not think this kind of vows. Precept here, practice. You need a certain training, practice training that cause you to not separate from your bodhicitta in future life. That means, someone complete bodhicitta in this lifetime. After a few years, the bodhicitta degenerated. No more bodhicitta. Somebody have bodhicitta until the person died. Next life, no bodhicitta. Right? So, what are the most important practice cause you not to weaken the bodhicitta? It has how many cause? 4, right? 4 cause. 4 parts. Number 1, training in the precept to recall the benefit to spiritual enlightenment in order to increase the strength of your enthusiasm. When you have bodhicitta, you always remember the benefits of bodhicitta. You always remember the benefits. Then you are always, very enthusiastic about bodhicitta. First, always 24 hours, you must remember the benefit of bodhicitta. Number 2, the training in the precept to generate the spiritual enlightenment 6 times each day. 6 times each day. Right? That means, yes, you have the bodhicitta already. Just in everybody has the aspirational bodhicitta. If you don't practice every day, then we're going to forget. Once you realize emptiness, it's not easy to forget. When you have a bodhicitta, if you not maintain continuously, very easy to decrease, or not very easy to decline the bodhicitta. Look like great compassion. When you see suffering beings, fully suffer, sentient beings, that moment you have a love, you have a compassion. After a few hours, no more compassion because you forgot. You have forgotten the compassion. Then you really, 24 hours, you must remember the bodhicitta. Therefore, 6 times you need to generate. That means you regenerate. You already have bodhicitta. Make sure you remember 6 times. That means every 4 hours. Right? No. Every 24 hours, every 6 hours. No. Yes. Every 4 hours. Right? So you must remember every 4 hours to generate bodhicitta. Then some of you may think, oh, it is very difficult. I cannot really, I don't have a time to generate bodhicitta for 6 times. You think, because I'm very busy, I have to do so many things, I cannot, cultivate bodhicitta for 6 times. But you must remember, you are taking, 3 times meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? So before you eat breakfast, you make an offering. Before you make an offering, you generate bodhicitta. Then lunchtime, bodhicitta. Then before dinner, like around 3 or 4 o'clock, you usually drink tea, coffee, juice. You have a rest, generate bodhicitta. Then dinner time. Then before you go to bed. So you can practice bodhicitta 6 times a day, right? This is a cause not to weaken your bodhicitta. Then number 3, very important. Number 3 is very important, most important. The training in the precept, the practice, not to mentally abandon the living being for whose sake you are developed the spiritual enlightenment. So, physically, you cannot be with all sentient beings. Right now, most of you live in Singapore. Physically, you are Singapore. Physically, you cannot be in Europe, in America, and in other part of Asia. Mentally, you can connect with all sentient beings through great compassion, through great love, through bodhicitta. You must connect with all sentient beings through bodhicitta. That means you always, accept, always remember all sentient beings, particularly your enemy. You say, my enemy is look like my dear brother, sister, and mother. Which is you feel more dearest? You must accept. If you feel your mother is your dearest person, all sentient beings like my mother. If you have a bit distant, you are mentally distant with your mother or parents, if you feel my brother is one of my closeness person, then it's okay. Also, you can think, all sentient beings are like my brother. Have a close feeling. Need to feel compassion, need to feel love towards all sentient beings, mentally connect. Then, sometime, due to the, being very mean, someone make you angry. Someone you make you very strong disappointment. Then suddenly you feel, since today, I'm not going to have you anymore. Since today, I'm not going to support you anymore. If you mentally think this way, if you seriously mentally think, I'm not going to have this particular being, is a most serious cause to weaken your bodhicitta. Please remember within the number 3. Number 4, attaining the precept to accumulate the collection of merit and sublime. You never say, accumulate the positive karma, positive action, collection of merit and sublime wisdom. Very important. Merit and sublime wisdom. So within the benefits, I think we studied a little bit about the benefit. I think it's very good to know. I think when I ask you to do study about the, for white and black, everybody just jump around the topic. I don't think anybody go through the benefits of bodhicitta. Thinking about the benefit of bodhicitta, after you have either research them in the sutra or listen to them from your guru. Once you have a bodhicitta, you read more dharma book about bodhicitta, or you listen teaching about bodhicitta. It help you to maintain your bodhicitta. Not only that, they are explained in the detail in the Arya Slag Sutra. So look there. As stated from the text says, the spirit enlightenment like a seed of all Buddha's quality. Clear? The bodhicitta is like a seed of all Buddha's quality. Wish to attain omniscient, bodhicitta important. Wish to be Buddha, bodhicitta important. Wish to achieve all the Buddha qualities, bodhicitta like a seed. Bodhicitta like a seed. And remember, bodhicitta look like father. Wisdom, which is realized emptiness, is look like mother. Whether the person is a Chinese or non-Chinese, Singaporean, non-Singaporean, it depends on father, not depend on mother, traditionally. Therefore, bodhicitta is very important, it's like a seed. Then, and also states, the spirit of enlightenment is like a summary because it includes all the bodhisattva deeds and aspirational prayers. Summary means everything include into bodhicitta. All the bodhisattva deeds, bodhisattva practice is depend on the bodhicitta. Also, key point of all the Bodhisattva paths, key point. So these few benefits is mentioned in Lambring is very important. In order to remember the bodhicitta is very important, you must remember the benefits, right? It's a root like a seed, arise all the Buddha's qualities. Then after that is mentioned benefit, mentioned in the Bodhisattva level is the name of the text, and those of the aspirational spirit bodhicitta, the text state true benefit for the first stable generation of the spirit enlightenment become a pure field for accumulating merit and being fully endowed with a protective merit. Very important. For example, once you have bodhicitta, somebody look at you, somebody thinking about you, somebody praise you, the person can accumulate lot of merit. Not only that, when you have bodhicitta, the positive action which you accumulate, is become very pure. Very pure. For example, without bodhicitta, when you give something to someone, without bodhicitta, you do recitation, you do practice, you do prostration, you do the mandal offering, you do the vajrasattva practice, all the practices mainly cause accumulate positive action, not merit. All the positive actions without bodhicitta, without realized emptiness, all the positive action only cause to have samsaric happiness, samsaric enjoyment, right? Samsaric happiness. When you have a bodhicitta, combined with the bodhicitta, combined with the wisdom which realizes emptiness, all your practices, all your positive actions to cause, to achieve Rupakaya, Buddha's body. Now you can see, until now, we have been accumulating a lot of positive action, positive karma, only cause samsaric happiness. Is never to be caused to achieve Rupakaya. Since you have a bodhicitta, all your practices, all your karmas going to cause to achieve Rupakaya, which is Buddha bodies. So therefore, second benefit is as fully endowed with the protective merit. So there are so many benefits. Also, please everybody, finish to read the page number 71 and 72 to know the benefit. Also, look at, many of you have a culture to believe, to think, to talk about ghost. Particularly who have a very strong, like Singaporean culture. They really believe like ghosts, like a bad spirit, like hunting. If you really believe, there's some ghost going around you, ghost somewhere, please remember bodhicitta. When you practice bodhicitta, none of the ghosts, none of the negative spirit harm you. If you are very worried about your, physical health, mental health, practice bodhicitta. When you practice bodhicitta, the physical sufferings become nothing. For example, you really, really care one of your brother or sister, you really care, you really love, you purely love, one of your relative. And you are seriously ill in hospital, you seriously ill, your condition is very serious. Once the person who come closer to you, you just try to walk up and try to, give a hug. That moment, you forgot your sickness and disease. You totally forgot you are seriously ill because of pure love. Therefore, you worry about, harming by spirit or ghost, whatever, practice bodhicitta. And also many people talk about protection. I think, include me, I think we tied the blessing like a string or your neck, your hands or mala, or, many people carry the amulet, right? Amulet in order to have a protections. There's no such as guarantee. The red sting, yellow sting, the amulet can protect you. No guarantee. You practice bodhicitta, none of the spirit can harm you, they will protect you. Plus, all the dharma protector can protect you. Because, why? Because dharma protector. We never say samsaric protector. For example, Singapore, you have an army, you have a police, right? They have a responsibility to protect Singapore. Their duty. So, at the beginning, they say, I will protect Singapore and Singaporean. They have a promise. If you are Singaporean or you live in Singapore, they protect you. Some who live in Malaysia, India, they don't care. The Dharma protector has a promise or commitment. I will protect the people who purely, seriously practice Dharma. When you have a bodhicitta, you have a most important Dharma in your mind. Therefore, all the Buddhas in Bodhisattva, particularly all the Dharma protector, will protect you. So no need to worry anything about practice bodhicitta. Heal your sickness and disease. They protect you, right? And also, due to the negative karma which we have accumulated, we have a different kinds of sickness and disease. Many sickness and disease can be cured after you taking, medicine. For, short term or long term, it can be cured. There are so many disease and sickness cannot be cured by medicine, by exercise, by healthy food. Practicing bodhicitta, definitely, very serious kind of illness can be cured. So therefore, please remember, all the benefit of bodhicitta. When you remember the benefit, then you have a strong aspiration to practice bodhicitta. Then, next one, 6th time I already explained you, is a 2 parts. Not give up your development of the bodhicitta, page number 73. I am more happy to use bodhicitta than the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta. Number 2, the training to increase the aspirational bodhicitta, right? Not give up, mean not forget to practice bodhicitta, you need to practice bodhicitta 6 times a day, like 6 times for 24 hours. So how you can do? I said when you woke up early morning, even though before you get out from your bed, you woke up. You must realize, oh, I'm so lucky. Still, I'm survived. Some of my friends passed away yesterday. Some of them passed away last week. Some of them passed away last year. Some of them, passing away right now. I'm so lucky. I must use my timing, my energy for good purpose, which is becoming Buddha. When you remember becoming Buddha, then you visualize Buddha and Bodhisattvas and generate the bodhicitta. Then you can, recite the verses about taking refuge in bodhicitta. Look at here. So I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the teaching, and the community. By merit of practicing the 6th perfection, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help living beings. Recite these verses for 3 times in the morning, before lunch, around like at noon, tea, then before dinner, before you go to bed. Right? That means 6 times you are taking refuge. 6 times you are generating bodhicitta. And 6 times you reminds you to practice the 6 perfections. 6 times. Then so how we can increase the bodhicitta, right? So again, remember the bodhicitta for 6 times and generate for 6 times. Then you have, increase the bodhicitta. Now, page number 75. Training the precept means practice, not to mentally abandon the living beings for whose sake you are developed the spiritual enlightenment. Although this precept is not found in the pedant section of the Lamb of the Path to Enlightenment or ritual, but it doesn't mention in clearly the books. Now you can see the next Adisha. By caring for and not abandoning living beings, you maintain the spiritual enlightenment to sake of the object, the benefit, ritual for generating, general increase and not for gettings. It is listed in the context and does not contradict the intended meaning of the root text to turn in this also. The measure of the mental abandoned living beings is when you produce the thoughts, now I will never work for this person welfare, beside upon some conditions such as unacceptable actions. I think this is it happened for everybody, right? First, you really care the person. Then suddenly the person was so mean. You always really, being nice with the person always, being very bad with you. Finally, you thought, I cannot, have the person. If you mentally think, I cannot have, I'm not going to have this person. If you seriously think, this means mentally you are abandoning a sentient being. This is the most, serious cause to degenerate the bodhicitta. Therefore, here was what you need to remember. You must remember how to practice great compassion. First, equanimity, impartiality, mind, thoughts, sentient being. First, start from the indifferent person. Second, you turn your mind with your friends and relatives. The last, you maintain your mind with the enemy. What Lama Tsongkhapa said here, we think I have a compassion to all sentient beings. Yes, look like you have. When you look at the individually one by one, oh, I don't have a compassion, Mr. B. I don't have a compassion, Mr. A. They are a very bad person, right? So you should not think this way. So first equanimity, then love, then compassion. So also you not necessarily to practice orderly the love and compassion. Sometimes you can practice love first, second compassion. Sometimes first compassion, love second. There's no such as order. But if you have a pure love, then easy to have a pure compassion. For example, wish to be happy, then suddenly, wish to free from suffering. When you think about wish to free from suffering, and also you can think about, wish to be happy. There's not such as order, which is we must say you must practice first compassion, second love, first love, second compassion. There's no such as order. But equanimity like a foundation. Without equanimity, without impartiality mind, then do you remember your love, your compassion become bias. That means you always care whom you like. You always neglect whom you don't like, because you don't have the sense of equanimity towards all sentient beings. So 6 times generate bodhicitta. Then these 4 conditions are to cause, not beginning bodhicitta in this lifetime, right? This lifetime. Therefore, please everybody remember the 4 causes to increase bodhicitta in this life, not beginning this life. Then there's another page number 76. Retaining the 4 life practice. Now I think everybody, study about the 4 blacks and 4 white. So next class, we will study about the methods of repairing the spiritual enlightenment if you do weaken it. So if you generate, if you degenerated the bodhicitta, then how it going to degenerate? How we can re-practice? So next time we will spend maybe just 20 minutes. Then we move to the 6 perfections. 6 perfection. Here, what you need to know, what you really need to know, where is, the Bodhisattva practice is very simple. Based on the 7 cause and effect, try to achieve bodhicitta, or through practice of exchanging self and other, try to have a bodhicitta in the real sense. Everybody can. Once you have bodhicitta, then what you think, since today, until I become Buddha, I practice the Bodhisattva deeds, the Bodhisattva practices, mainly what? 6 perfections. 6 perfections. In order to have a very complete the 6 perfections, within the 6, please remember the wisdom. Wisdom. I'm not talking all kinds of wisdom. The wisdom which is realize emptiness. Right? So once you have bodhicitta, all your practices can be Mahayan practice, can be caused to achieve Rupakaya, Buddha's body, not guarantee to cause to achieve Dharmakaya, which is the cessation. In order to accomplish the Dharmakaya, the cessation, you need to cease all the negative thoughts, all the afflictions, afflictive emotions, particularly ignorance. Therefore, you need to realize emptiness. Once you practice bodhicitta with the emptiness, wisdom with the realize emptiness, bodhicitta with the emptiness, then when you do some, giving practice, it become pure, generosity, practice of generosity. Then when you give little food to the fish, to the bird, to the dog, to your friends, little food is so little, but the benefit of practicing generosity will be huge because of the bodhicitta and the wisdom. When you have bodhicitta, when you have the wisdom which is in emptiness, then you can have a very pure ethic. You can be, you can have a very pure ethical discipline. Because due to realize emptiness, you realize the ignorance is wrong, mistaken mind. When you realize, ignorance is a mistaken mind, then there's a very little chance to arouse anger, attachment, desire, because you fully control the ignorance. Therefore, ethic practice, pure ethical discipline, pure generosity, forgiveness, everything becomes very complete. Therefore, at the beginning, as a seed, as a heart, bodhicitta is very, very, very important. Therefore, I told you many times, before you make offering, food offering, remember bodhicitta, wish to become Buddha. Therefore, I make food offering. Wish to become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings, I recite mantra. Wish to become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings, lit a candle light, burn incense. Those practices look like very simple, actually is a very important practice. The result can be huge. Without bodhicitta, without great compassion, if you give away your everything, include your body, you give away everything, the result will be very small. Without bodhicitta and realize emptiness, you try to be very pure, ethical person. Your ethic practice try to be very pure, cannot. Therefore, at the beginning, as a seed, as a heart, bodhicitta is very important. Therefore, I really, request all of you, try to be bodhisattva. You try every day. Try to be bodhisattva. You can, all of you can. Look at, we learn how to generate bodhicitta through practice of 7 cause and effect, through practice of exchanging the self, and everything come when you have a great compassion. Therefore, Buddha said, one object in your hand, one single object in your hand, all, object will come in your hand. Then somebody asked, what is the one object? Buddha said, great compassion. Right? When you have a great compassion, bodhicitta there. When is bodhicitta there, sixth perfection there. When the sixth perfection, bodhicitta there, Buddhahood is there. Therefore, don't just verbally say bodhicitta, not just having knowledge about bodhicitta, try to have bodhicitta in real sense. So this is today's class, and thank you so much for attending class. So we have another half hour we can have a discussion, question and answer. So please feel free, you can ask any question related to your study, related to your practice, or related to your daily life. Whatever question you wish, please you can ask. If you don't want to show your face, it's okay. Face is not important. The question is very important. Thank you.
好像说我们不是养动物嘛，就是猫啊、狗这些，等我们要去，好像跟它结育嘛，好像有一点不人道嘛，对不对？所以我不懂，跟他们结育是件会不会造成什么因果，还是说是他们本身造了因果，还是我们造了新的业，让他们有这种情况发生？因为好像我有一只猫妈妈生了5只小猫。可是猫妈妈生了5只小猫，我们就跟它做着节育，节育之后剩下那5只小猫，因为还小嘛，等它们长大之后就打算跟它做一个节育手术，是否会不会造不好的业在那边呢？我想请问一下，谢谢。
Thank you so much for asking this question. Everybody, okay? Everybody think the culture about keeping pets. How it started? Where did it start? In the ancient time, many years ago, before many years, I think mainly the pets keeping culture started from like a noble family, like kings, right? They keep like a tiger, other animals around the palace, mainly for enjoyment. Because the children, didn't have to go, no need to go far away to see tiger, big snake, different animals, different birds. They capture and put one area to enjoy, for entertainment. Then slowly, I think it's come to, like middle class. Now I think many people keep, like pets. And also, I think we have a concept of zoo. I told you many times, zoo. Why are we going to go to zoo? We spend money to watch the animals. For example, Singapore, you have a like big zoo, many animals. We go for enjoyment. When we see the animal, we feel so happy. Oh, there's an elephant, there's a dragon, there's a dog, we so feel happy. But never think how they are suffered. We totally, take away their freedom. The elephant usually enjoy in forests. Snake, fish, we're taking their rights. We're taking, their freedom. We capture in very small place with a very bad condition that we just enjoy watching. Second, keeping the pets in house. I personally, I don't like to keep pets for my enjoyment, for my entertainment. So why we need to keep pets? Because we are slowly keep distant with the human beings, other human being. If you are a couple, You just have a connection with each other as a couple, or maybe only your family. You don't want to have a connection or relation with other people. You slowly going far away with other human being. Therefore people feel very lonely. You will always live together with your husband and wife and children. You feel very lonely. Then you keep, I think, I'm not sure, you keep the pets, dog and cats or bird, other animal in your house, not out of compassion. No, I think out of your enjoyment, out of your entertainment. Because when you play with the dog and cats and birds, they play with you. They never really argue with you. They are not, you're not really, fighting with you. They get angry, upset for a while. They come back and play with you. That's why you think, it's nice to have pets and. So far you already have the pets. So you must treat, all the pets, like animals as your family. As family. I'm not going to say you're accumulating any negative karma. No, you're not accumulating negative karma. But somebody, after the dogs and cats become very old, then they, bring hospital, ask to inject. Because they know they cannot take care anymore. They ask to kill the dog and cats. Is no good. Tells me you are really, if you do this kind of thing, definitely you will accumulate negative karma because you are killing. You think you are killing the dog and cats out of your compassion. No, out of your attachment. So, let them die naturally. If they have a lot of physical suffering, give some kind of antibiotics, painkiller, and let them die naturally. Don't kill. Please don't kill. Killing is considered as very negative karma. And also many people, first they keep a dogs or cats, then they have a kitten. Then second, they cannot take care anymore. Then they bring the cats and dog for or like abortion or operation. This I'm not sure good or bad, right? So please no need to worry. You are accumulating negative karma or not. Definitely you are not. At the end, if you killed, the pet animal is no good. And also try to control the birth control, do kind of little surgery, not having any more baby. This I'm not sure good or bad. Actually, we are really taking that their freedom. Thank you. Is there any question?
Yeah, Geshe-la. Christine Ko would like to pose question to you. Christine, I'm going to unmute your mic.
I'm so sorry, Geshe-la. I accidentally raised my hand. Actually, I have no question. I wanted to say thank you. So sorry, Geshe-la. So sorry.
Geshe-la, I have a question.
Please.
Okay. I have a bad eczema on my hand, and then when I have this, I feel very pain when I bathe. So when I feel the pain, I actually wanted rest of those people who have this pain to be upon me, so that they can be relieved of their immediate suffering. And I feel very good having this mental thought. Then after a while, I try to practice the Tonglen, like breathing in the suffering of all the beings, and then breathing out for whatever I have, the merits and happiness to others. But then suddenly there was a thought, when I breathe in all the suffering, how do I visualize where the suffering go? Thank you.
Thank you so much for asking this question. I think, Dulu, I think you're talking about eczema, like rashes. Generally, I think you have. I think anybody have. If anybody has a like problem, like a skin problem, I think you really need to pay attention what you are eating, what you are drinking, and also you try to take shower with either warm or cold water. Not the hot water is no good. Somehow you manage to control the sufferings, which is really good. That means you are not talking about dharma. You talk and walk. Talking also you are practicing is very good. We rejoice your practice. Second, as an ordinary person like you and me, when we practice, tong, len, in Tibetan we say first tong, giving and taking. Somehow in the West, they use, taking and giving is no good. What's that? Giving first give and take. As an ordinary person like you and me, when we visualize, we are taking suffering from all sentient beings, particularly the people who are sick. We are doing mainly the, visualized level. Or not really practically can take. When your practice becomes quite good, then you're able to take the suffering. You're able to give the happiness to others. Yes, that time, if you reach that kind of level, there's a dangers. You're really going to get sickness and disease because you are taking, you are soaking the suffering and disease and pain and unpleasure, giving. That moment, what you need to do, please everybody, thing is for everybody. There's a two important practice when you breathe, when you take in. Let's say I visualize, the sick person who has a terrible sickness, is contingent sickness. Then when I visualize, I'm taking the sickness in. Yes, I can visualize, taking. What happens if I take in? What will happen? It's going to stay in my body. What? Then there's two practices. Number one, easy for everybody. You just visualize, sun, S-U-N, sun in your heart, sun. When you breathe in their sufferings and problem and disease in, you just think everything is totally born in the sun. Sun. Then, after you burn the sickness and disease, there's a kind of ashes, it's kind of dust around the sun. All the dust, you just think is, you clean through your lower part, your lower hole. You just clean. When you think you are cleaning all the dust in your sun, you also think all your negative karma, disease, things go out. Number one. Number two, if you have some understanding of emptiness of your mind, then when you breathe in, when you take in the sickness and disease, you just think everything dissolve or disappear within the emptiness of the mind. Clear? For example, when you look in the sky, you can see, there's a big piece of clouds. When you look at continuously the clouds in the sky, slowly the clouds disappear. Disappear where? Disappear within the sky, you cannot see. Therefore, you can imagine, completely born in the sun, and the dust that you just, purify through your lower parts, and all your sickness and disease also purify. Second, you remember emptiness of your mind. When you take in all the sufferings and problems, totally disappear within the emptiness of the mind. Because their story is practically is really happened. One, I think, Tibetan practitioner Milarepa, a very interesting story. Because he was, become very famous practitioner. He was become very famous around the Tibet, particularly I think northern Tibet. Become very popular. That there was a monk he was quite famous. Since Milarepa became very famous, popular, he became very low profile, no famous. Then he get angry with Milarepa. He thought, I should kill Milarepa. Now here what you can think, look at. He is competing with another practitioner. He's a monk, Sangha. He have a good knowledge about Dharma, but his mind is not fully controlled. Get angry and wish to kill Milarepa. Then he asked a girl around him, so you must give this yogurt, offer this yogurt to Milarepa. If you're going to offer a yogurt to Milarepa, I'll give you the big turquoise, right? Turquoise, do you understand? The blue stone. And the lady agreed about it. Then the monk gave her the big turquoise and the yogurt. So the lady went to see Milarepa and he offered the yogurt to Milarepa. Milarepa happily take the yogurt. Then asked, are you happy about the turquoise? Then the lady feel very regret, it's too late. Then Milarepa was very, very, very sick due to the poison. He's so strongly sick, ill. Then other assistant or someone asked, are you really sick? He said, yes, I'm very sick. If you cannot believe, you can see. So the Milarepa transformed the sickness in the rock. He just transformed it in the rock. The rock totally, break into many pieces. It's practically happened. And also one of the famous Tibetan practitioner who was, I think, Kadamba. So he was doing the, giving and taking practice. So one day there was one person was seriously ill. He said also to contain sickness. Then he checked the sickness. Finally, he got the sickness. He passed away with this kind of sickness. But he never feels regret. He feels so happy. I able to take their sickness and the person is free from this sickness. So therefore, as a beginner, I don't think we no need to worry, but still you have to be, very careful when you do the Tonglen practice. Next question, please. Hello?
I think, Geshe-la, so far no questions,
Okay.
no hands raised.
Good. So I have we have about 10 minutes. So for the 10 minutes, I will remind you. Also, somebody asked this question. I think one of the Sunday. Also, this question raised during the dialogue with His Holiness Dalai Lama. Somebody asked, I'm dealing with the people who are dying, and the many people are very scared about death or dying. How we should deal with the dead person, how we should be, how we overcome from the scaring about death. I said a little bit, before. Somehow, remember, death will come. Also, definite. Death come definitely, but very uncertainty. Please remember, death will come I will die. Definitely I will die. But uncertainty, we never know. Maybe, we cannot see tomorrow. We're going to die this evening or tonight. Please always remember the death. If you always remember, you are very familiar with the death. When you notice some of your relatives, some of your best friend going to die, you won't feel so upset, unhappy. You won't feel so disturbed, right? And also many people really scared about death. I told you there's a true reason. Can be true reason. Reason number one, their mind is so strongly attached with the belongings, attached with the samsaric happiness, or attached with the someone. Therefore, based on remember impermanence, reduce attachment. The person who is so scared about death, they have a so strong attachment, attach their mind with something, someone. Reason number one. Reason number two, they feel so scared about death. They really don't know. Also, we really don't know. We believe there's a next life, there's a pardo, there's a karma. We believe. Actually, we really don't know what will happen after we death. After our death, what will happen? So the second reason people really feel scared about death, they really don't know what will happen. Therefore, every day you must remember death. After we death, we're going to go to next life. Whether the next life good or bad, it depends on our karma. No need, very complex logics. Let's say you have two kinds of seeds. One is very healthy seeds, one is very unhealthy seeds. You put the two seeds in one pot. You give the proper soil, water, and heat. The both seeds can produce the sprout. When you look at the two sprout, one is very healthy, growing fast. You can see it give you the fruits. One is very unhealthy. It cannot grow that much, cannot give fruits. Healthy, unhealthy. If you have healthy action, you have a healthy life. If you have an unhealthy action, you have an unhealthy life. Therefore, in order to free from the scary about death, first remember the death every day seriously, try to familiarize with the death. Second, remember after death, having good life or bad life, it depends on the karma. Therefore, every day, every moment, you try to, not engage into negative actions. If you have these two concept about death, concept about next life depend on the karma, then you won't have a lot of worry, lot of scary about death. Therefore, many people really don't know dharma, they don't study dharma, still they're facing this kind of problem. So when you meet this kind of person, you give advice. Oh, I'm very unhappy, I feel very scary because my daughter got cancer, my son got cancer, my husband got cancer. Let them realize impermanence. Let them realize that death. Everybody will go through this kind of stage. So therefore, please I said many times, not just have a knowledge about Dharma, knowledge about impermanence, knowledge about death. You really need to feel, you really need to be, understand, practice. So death doesn't mean it is end of your life. According to Buddhist tradition, there's another life. People feel so scary because don't realize impermanence is death. People don't understand what will happen after, we death. Therefore, in Tibet, there was a very famous poem, very famous scholar. He was a monk when he was young. He was very intelligent, one of the most intelligent Tibetan around 1930s, 40s. He's a very intelligent, he's really good in arts, he's really good in everything. Then he came to India before, I think around 1940s, 1930s, 40s. Within 1 year, he became master in English. And he traveled to Sri Lanka, Thailand. That time, he didn't have a camera. he knew everything about the monastery, the monk life, the culture. He's very smart. Then somehow, then he came back to Tibet. Then he was facing some kind of, I think, legal problems. Then he was put in prison. And end of the day, he said, he realized he's going to die. He said, okay, today I'm going to go to the very important topics, which is next life. I'm going today. Unfortunately, I cannot send you any message. There's a next life or not, right? Therefore, even though we Buddhists, we believe, we still really not sure about next life. Therefore, you really need to understand there's a next life. The next life will depend on the, everything determined by karma. Therefore, always very careful what you do, what you think, what you say. Because the Kadampa says, when you are alone in your house, somewhere, always watch your mind. Always watch your mind. Because nobody around you, you're not going to argue, you're not going to talk like senseless thing, you're not going to have a fighting, you're not going to have a jealousy, you are alone. Just watch your mind. Make sure you have a positive thoughts, positive attitude. When you are with someone, doesn't matter, your relatives, your friends, your co-worker, your neighbor, doesn't matter. When you are with someone, always watch your mouth. Always watch your talks, your verbal actions. Because many, people become enemy with you, not mental action, not physical action, mainly the verbal actions. Sometimes you talk too much, you don't know what you are talking, you don't know how much it harm to other. Therefore, always watch your speech. Before you speak, think properly, I should say or should not say. Because there's an expression in Tibetan, the speech doesn't have a weapon, right? Weapon means this doesn't have a sharp, like a knife, like a bullet, like a poison. But the speech can break into many pieces somebody's heart. The speech can break heart into many pieces. Therefore, when you speak to someone, watch your speak and make sure you always speak truthfully, nicely, honestly, clearly. So this is I want to say at the class, and thank you so much for joining the class. At the end, we thought we were reciting the verses. So please do the dedication. So dedicate the merit. So due to our great motivation, due to our great study, we have accumulated a lot of positive actions, merit, all the actions and merits. First, dedicate for becoming Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Becoming Buddha, achieving enlightenment is 100% depend on bodhicitta and the wisdom. Also study about bodhicitta, study about emptiness. Therefore, second, dedicate the merit to able to generate bodhicitta, able to realize emptiness, able to understand properly. Third, dedicate the merit to benefit all sentient beings, particularly your families, your relatives, your co-workers, your neighbors, your friends, also the people who are affected by COVID-19, the people who are in hospital, the people who are seriously in the hospital all over the world. Dedicate the merit to benefit all sentient beings, particularly those peoples. The last, dedicate the merit to have a healthy and long life. All the religious teachers and gurus, particularly your root guru, to flourish the Dharma, particularly Dharma about bodhicitta, into 10 directions. Then all sentient beings, all human beings can practice bodhicitta, they can be Buddha. Also, dedicate the merit to benefit all the supporters and donors of TBC, the people who really work for TBC.